एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज की वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे ऑटम सॉन्ग के बारे में। इससे पहले हमने जितने भी सरोजनी नायडू के वीडियोस डिस्कस किए हैं उसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में। चलिए शुरू करते हैं आज की वीडियो। पोम को इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। ऑटम सॉन्ग talks about the impermanence of human of autumn and roots over the impending winter. It is an ode that meditates on autumn. As a song, it's brief. The vastness of the ode cannot depict what autumn really is. The poet is talking about autumn itself, not about the impression it casts on her mind. According to the poet, autumn is like a short phase of the day when the sun is about to set. It brings joy, but not a permanent one. She can see the farmer's sheaf separating the autumn crops. Suddenly, the wild wind comes from nowhere and a thought fades away. The wind makes her heart weary and sad and alone. As it tells her of the approaching winter, the poet seems to be troubled by this thought, but she doesn't want to wait behind as her heart knows winter comes, can spring be far behind. It contains two five-line stanzas. The rhyme scheme of the poem follows the pattern of quinquain poem, but it does not a quinquain, as there are total 10 lines in the poem. The rhyme scheme present in the first stanza is A B C C B. The second stanza is D E F F E. There is a connection between the rhyming lines and in the sense of the poem. Likewise, in the first stanza, the second and fourth lines end with the same word cloud. These lines are also connected internally. The metrical structure brings out an interesting thing about the poem. The line structure and the metrical composition reflects the flow of the autumnal wind. It ceases abruptly, approaches slowly, lasts for some moment, and then again everything is paused. Like the wind, the first line reflects the coming of wind, and the second line depicts it becoming milder. The following two lines refer to a wind steady blowing, and in the end it ceases slowly. The second stanza also follows the same wind-like pattern. The poet uses both the iambic and anapestic meter in the poem. The use of long feet is in between the short iambic feet again imitates the flow of the wind. This work presents nature as a source of inspiration, like the popular romantic poems written by the second generation romantic poets. The nationalistic touch is also there in the poem. Having a politically active career, Naidu's work naturally contain a nationalistic sentiment. Likewise, in Autumn Song, the image of the sheaves and the epitaph golden points to the backbone of Indian economy, the agricultural sector. There is a hope in her heart for the country's better future, but there is also a sense of pessimism as India was still under the colonial rule. हमको in depth discuss करते हैं. Stanza 1. Like a joy of the heart of a sorrow, the sunset hangs on a cloud, a golden storm of glittering sheaves, of fair and flayed and fluttering leaves. The wind blows in a cloud. In the first stanza, the poet begins with the image of setting sun that is metaphorically hanging on a cloud. The reference to the setting sun is a conventional symbol of hopelessness. The dusk brings joy to the poet's heart, but it's already filled with sorrow. The upcoming winter makes her mind clouded with negativity and pessimism. The last three lines, the poet paints a picture of glittering sheaves that symbolically brings a sense of hope in the poem. In fact, it creates a contrasting of conflicting emotions in the poet's heart. Inside her mind, there is a fear of the future. In front of her eyes, nature waits with hope and prosperity. Suddenly, the wild wind of change comes and blows her negative thoughts away like fear and trail fluttering leaves. Stanza 2. Hark to a voice that is calling to my heart, in the voice of the wind. My heart is weary and sad and alone, for its dream like the fluttering leaves have gone, and why should I stay behind? In the second stanza, the poet responds to nature's clarion call. According to the poet, the voice of the wind comes knocking at her mind's door. She can't be silent. There is no place for immobility when nature itself is urging the poet to move on, to shed off her weary, sad, and lonely thoughts. The tree sheds the old leaves to grow new leaves. The future, it's an ongoing process. The cycle of change has been in motion from time immemorial. Autumn acts as a catalyst in this process. For this reason, the poet dreams of a better future that is waiting for. She doesn't fear the change. Her mind is just a little hesitant with the thoughts of winter. In the end, she decides it is her duty to respond wisely. That's why she says, and why should I stay behind? Literary devices. It begins with two figures based on similarity. The first line begins with the word like. It means there is a simile, and the comparison becomes in the second. The poet compares the sunset with a kind of dim joy and the cloud to her heart. In the first two lines, they use imagery. In the second line, sets the mood of the poem. However, there is also a metaphor in the phrase "the heart of sorrow." Here, the poet refers to her sad heart. The poet also personifies sorrow in this phrase. Is a metonymy in the phrase "golden storm." The poet uses a metaphor of a storm to present the idea of separation of grains from the sheaves. The wild wind presents an alliteration at the end of the first stanza. There is a personification at the beginning of the first stanza. The poet implicitly personifies nature in the first line. Might be also a reference to the winds calling. The poet uses polysyndeton in the third line of the stanza by using the conjunction and twice. In my heart, the poet actually talks about herself. It is also a synecdoche, and the varieties part for the whole. The next line presents a simile, and the poem ends with an interrogation. Melancholy and loss. The poem has an intensely weary and sad tone, focusing on lost dreams and faded joy, often described as sorrowful or mournful experience. Impermanence and cyclical change. The changing season, particularly the falling of leaves and sunset, symbolizes the transitory nature of life, aging, and the inevitability of change, which is a key concept within the poem's context of Indian philosophy. Nature as a mirror of emotion. The autumn landscape featuring golden stormy wind and falling leaves was used to mirror the speaker's internal emotional state, where nature serves as a catalyst for contemplation and sadness, resignation and acceptance. Despite the sorrowful tone, the poem explores a sense of resignation towards this change, ending with a question about why one should stay behind a personal desire to move on. Nationalistic undertone. The imagery of the golden sheaves, which represents the harvested crops in Indian agriculture, subtly touches upon the rural landscape of India, reflecting a nationalistic sentiment. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद है। कैसी लगी हमें कमेंट करके बताएं। अगर कोई डाउट्स या सजेशंस है तो वो भी आप कमेंट सेक्शन में ड्रॉप कर सकते हैं। अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी हो तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे। टिल देन कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप सपोर्टिंग द सोलफुल डायरी। थैंक यू।